现在的女人找对象要求真的是太高了。
Nowadays, many women have very high standards when choosing a partner, often asking whether the other person owns a car, property, or has a certain amount of savings. For those women who set such conditions, I believe that all men should think twice before considering marriage with them. Such women are often lazy and just want to rely on others. After marriage, they may not contribute anything substantial to the family. For me, people like you don't seem to be married yet, do you? If you're not a virgin, then you have no right to make such demands. This attitude is truly frustrating and disappointing. You are really shameless.
各位啊，有没有发现一个问题？现在越来越多的男的他不想结婚。
Have you noticed a phenomenon? It seems that more and more men in China are unwilling to get married. I now realize that the most free moment of my day is when I finish work and sit in my car alone for a while. As time goes by, many young people are gaining a clearer perspective on marriage. In the current social environment, if men can let go of the traditional view of continuing the family line, they will find that marriage offers them almost no practical benefits at this stage. Some may argue that marriage provides companionship. But let's be real, brothers. Ask those married men over 35 what they truly desire. In fact, what they long for is freedom and space, not someone to take care of them. Just give a man a computer, a bed, and a smartphone for ordering takeout, and after a week, you'll see that besides the utilities meter, his home will hardly change at all. Moreover, how many little fairies are there who can truly take care of their husbands? Some people might say that having a house is essential for a home. That's a good point. So, if we don't get married, do we still need to buy a house to provide security for women? And without children, there's no need for a school district house either. Even if renting, single men can pack their belongings in a suitcase and leave any time, with no pressure at all. Moving is as easy as pie. When it comes to buying a car for a single man, owning a Golf is already considered a luxury. Some may say that there are physical needs in married life, but honestly, after 30, those needs aren't that intense anymore. Even on the street, there are options sometimes, aren't there? If you go on a blind date, it might cost 200,000 yuan in betrothal gifts, while other activities may only require a few hundred. Plus, the money saved from not getting married can be used to pursue other choices that you prefer. Some may worry about emotional loneliness, thinking that without a partner, they won't be happy. But when faced with real life, is that emotional companionship really necessary? Lastly, some say that when we grow old, there will be no one to take care of us. However, considering the current social pressures, whether we can even live to enjoy our old age is still uncertain. Therefore, rather than finding a partner who requires surrendering your salary card and limits your freedom, it might be better to live happily alone.
不要再嘲笑男生娶不到老婆了，没啥好笑的。
Don't laugh at many boys for being unable to find wives. There's really nothing funny about it. Today, during a discussion with a few friends, a 26-year-old girl was mentioned. She has an average appearance, hasn't worked for the past 3 years, owes over 80,000 yuan on her credit card, and has neither a car nor a house. Yet, she often posts about various social activities in her friend circle. She approached one of our friends, hoping he could introduce her to a partner, but my friend asked her if she could accept a paid service. Surprisingly, this girl said that girls nowadays don't worry about not finding men. Only those boys who can't find wives are to blame. Do girls really need to pay to find a partner? In reality, some girls seem unaware of their situation. Based on the information we currently have, many boys in China are also changing their mindset about marriage. More and more are choosing to marry when they feel it's right, preferring to treat themselves better rather than blindly conforming. Given the current male-to-female ratio, if indeed some men cannot marry, it's inevitable that some girls will face the prospect of aging alone. The reason is simple. When the buyers stop making offers, the sellers naturally have no market. This may not sound pleasant, but isn't it the truth?
男人已经不愿意追女人了嘛。
In today's society, it seems that men's attitudes toward women have changed, and many are becoming increasingly reluctant to invest emotionally. This phenomenon seems to reflect a leniency toward women and harsh judgment toward men. Nowadays, many women directly express their material demands in relationships, such as asking for a car and a house, Some even act as if they are making great sacrifices in marriage, using having children and doing housework as reasons to display an attitude of grievance. I feel helpless about this, and perhaps some people might think that I say this because I harbor resentment toward women, but I want to share my experience. I once lived at the bottom of society, penniless, with neither a house nor a car. I remember one winter when I couldn't even afford the heating bill. At that time, I had a girlfriend. I never had high expectations of her. I didn't need her to be exceptionally beautiful or have a great figure, nor did I expect her to be as gentle and considerate as characters on TV who could manage everything. Because my income was meager, and my girlfriend wasn't working, the two of us had to live frugally. Many people might think that such a relationship is worth cherishing, because they would assume my girlfriend didn't mind my lack of money and truly cared for me. But in reality, she gave me a lot of emotional coldness in our relationship, making me feel extremely wronged. I endured her emotional coldness for 4 years. I tried my best to adapt to her, because I indeed couldn't make enough money to satisfy the life she wanted. Now, at 35 years old, even though we broke up many years ago, I still feel a deep resentment toward her. It's not because she broke up with me, but because I genuinely tried hard to change. I worked tirelessly every day, hoping to provide her with a better life, but her attitude toward me never improved. In the end, she probably realized that I was truly a man who couldn't get ahead in life, so she firmly decided to break up with me. She said that she could easily find a man better than me. And I'll never forget the look of disgust on her face when I begged her not to leave me. We were once in love, after all, having been through several years of relationship, but it eventually ended in separation. I feel that even if it were a dog I'd raised for several years, if it begged me like that, I would have softened my heart. At the same time, I also feel a bit sorry for her. It may sound like a joke, but hear me out. My hometown is in Shandong, Jining, where the dating culture generally demands a bride price starting at 200,000 yuan, even though the conditions of the women are often not outstanding. This phenomenon has become prevalent in the area, and the local women are often overvalued by lower-class capital. In reality, they can't find truly excellent men. Later, as my financial situation gradually improved, I noticed that the women around me were more willing to communicate with me on equal terms. Looking back on my ex-girlfriend, she held on to the 30,000 yuan I had saved, but chose not to support me when I needed help the most. My current partner is different. She's even willing to sell her house and use her credit cards to support my business ventures. In contrast, I see some married women around me who are often dissatisfied with their family life. They envy the happiness of other families but only bring their frustrations back to their husbands, complaining that their men are useless, unambitious, and unable to make enough money. Men work under great pressure outside, and when they come home, they expect comfort, not endless complaints and criticism. I wonder, do such women really deserve men's efforts? My current partner not only progresses with me in business, but also gives me a lot of care in life. She cares for my parents and frequently asks about my needs. Why do men nowadays prefer younger women around the age of 20? It's because these younger women tend to understand their men better. They don't demand a house, money, or a car as quickly as women in their 30s do. When men are exhausted from their work, these younger women give them space, offer a hug, and tell them they've worked hard. They don't constantly think about how much they can gain, but rather, they give genuine affection. Nowadays, it's normal for men not to chase after women. Once in the dating market over the age of 25, I feel the whole scene has changed. It's become more like a marketplace where men and women are both commodities, and they're not talking about feelings but about price. Everyone is calculating their own interests rather than putting effort into building a meaningful relationship. Many of the men around me, after experiencing a relationship or marriage, find their overall state of life changes, and their quality of life often drops significantly. As for the high bride prices, I always feel it's better to spend that money on something more meaningful. Sadly, I believe many women don't really deserve to be called women. They just keep taking, lacking any understanding and support for their partners.
Are there still men who want to get married nowadays? I'm seriously starting to doubt it. Guys, What kind of content are you looking at when you're online? Are you no longer watching videos of beautiful women? Are you just watching things like construction machinery in action, wildlife documentaries, or playing video games? I'm genuinely curious. If you're not planning to get married, what do you plan to do next? Guys, I'm really about to lose my mind here. Our matchmaking company's business has almost come to a standstill recently. It's so quiet, like a deserted place. Occasionally, 1 or 2 men come in to consult about marriage, but often, these men don't have a car, don't own a house, don't have an education, or a stable job. Some can't even support themselves. A few even directly ask if they can marry into the woman's family. As a matchmaker, I'm completely powerless. I can't make that happen. Honestly, it's already hard enough to find a guy who can even support himself. But now, many guys seem to be confused, possibly influenced by external voices about feminism. All they think about is how to make some money to feed themselves, live comfortably, play games occasionally, and then completely shut themselves off, with no consideration for marriage. At this rate, I'm going to lose my job as a matchmaker. This situation is truly anxiety-inducing. And girls, please stop mentioning things like there are 30 million more men than women. The reality is, men with decent conditions, who can make money and support themselves, often prefer to spend their money on themselves. They're not necessarily thinking about spending it on women. Girls, you really need to wake up and stop holding on to unrealistic fantasies.
现在啊，做媒啊，做不下去了。现在的男生都不出来相亲找对象了。
Nowadays, being a matchmaker is becoming increasingly difficult. Young men today are no longer actively seeking blind dates or looking for partners. Instead, they choose to lie flat. Do you know what they are thinking? First, guys feel that dating means they have to spend money, and the cost of dating has become too high. They often say, when is there a day when you don't have to spend money? If you don't spend, you can't attract girls. But even if you do spend, it doesn't guarantee success. In the end, you might end up losing both money and the person, right? This is their first concern. Secondly, they feel that they don't have the ability to buy a house or a car, and therefore feel unqualified to let a girl suffer alongside them. They worry that their financial situation is not enough to sustain a relationship, and they even feel embarrassed to bring someone along to live a tough life. Third, many guys don't want to be what they call bootlickers. They believe that love should be about mutual attraction, not one side chasing while the other passively accepts. They say, if the girl isn't into you, chasing her is pointless. Forced relationships won't be sweet. Fourth, many guys feel that even though they have already done their best and consider themselves to be the most considerate, the best men in the world, they still find that girls are constantly picking at them. No matter what they do, they are criticized for this or that. So they ask themselves, since that's the case, why should I spend money just to bring trouble on myself? In general, guys feel that girls' expectations are too high nowadays, while they themselves are just ordinary wage earners, unable to afford the various costs and pressures that come with a relationship. As parents, what kind of support do you plan to give your children on their journey to marriage and love?
我说我不结婚不生娃不处对象，结果我被网暴了。
When I say that I don't want to get married, don't want to have children and don't plan to date, I end up facing online abuse. They call me selfish, say I lack ability, and even claim I'm superficial. Some people in society enjoy using vicious words to attack others. In fact, I'm just expressing my true thoughts, which happen to reflect the views of many people born in the 90s and aughts. It's just that others may not say it outright, while I choose to speak frankly. As for those who lack civility, they really shouldn't judge others so harshly. Some people say I'm unfilial to my parents, even calling me a wolf that turns on its master. But I want to say that my parents raised me not to live according to others' expectations. They hope I can live a happy and healthy life, which is their true wish. Of course, passing on the family line is indeed part of life for some people, but if living solely for that purpose, what meaning does our life hold? I have too many friends whose parents have spent their entire savings just to help them get married and have children. But what's the outcome? Their happy lives consist of working hard from dawn till dusk, under immense pressure. After finally raising their children through elementary, middle, high school, and university, by the time the children are grown, the parents find themselves aging, their health declining. Can you imagine how many parents have lived almost a day for themselves in these decades, sacrificing for their families and children? Their entire lives revolve around others, never leaving themselves a moment to breathe. Before marriage, they look forward to their children settling down. After marriage, they hope to soon hold a grandchild. When the grandchild arrives, they expect them to grow up, and this cycle repeats, quietly slipping away in endless waiting. Looking back, how many days have they truly lived for themselves? I want to say that we shouldn't impose traditional values on today's young people through moral coercion. The times have changed, and the old ways no longer apply. In the past, earning 500 yuan a month could support a large family. Now, earning 5,000 yuan a month might not even be enough to cover mortgage and car payments. The pressure of life has become so overwhelming that we, the young generation, can hardly breathe. Therefore, the life experiences of the older generation should not be used to judge the current young generation. Of course, marriage has its benefits, and being single offers its freedoms. The key is which lifestyle makes you feel happy and fulfilled. If you choose to marry, there's no need to feel regret due to the pressures and hardships of married life, as those efforts may bring you the warmth of a family and children in your old age. For those of us who choose the freedom of being single, by the time we get old, we might have already adapted to living alone, and that is the result of our own choices. Everyone's choices are different, and no one's opinion can represent everyone. In summary, life is short. Decades pass in the blink of an eye. We should choose a way of living that makes us happy.
The current reality is that China's marriage and birth rates continue to decline. This indicates that many men are starting to take this issue seriously. They are no longer actively pursuing women and feel indifferent toward marriage. Some point out that many Chinese men are experiencing a self-exiling state of singlehood and a retaliatory refusal to marry. Their mindset is, if pursuing women becomes so difficult, I'd rather choose not to pursue, and even prefer lifelong singlehood, rather than be the passive pursuer. Some say, the aging population in society is becoming more serious, so I simply won't have children. They do not want to be controlled by others and feel that retreating in such circumstances is a better coping strategy. Men of marriageable age are responding to today's distorted views on marriage and relationships in this way, hoping to establish a future of gender-equal relationships. Nowadays, some women's demands indeed feel pressuring. During dating, they constantly put men to various tests, as if they must always be the ones to give. Whether it's gifts during holidays or money transfers as red envelopes, men have to make great efforts, while women do not even show a hint of appreciation, as if all of this is taken for granted. Their viewpoint is, if you want to pursue me, you must prove it with your actions. Whether or not they are ultimately satisfied completely depends on their mood. When it comes to marriage, the situation is even more severe. If a man wants to marry her, he must agree to various conditions, even meet some unreasonable demands from her family. Even after getting married, they may refuse to take on family responsibilities, citing reasons like, I was raised as a little princess in wealth, and they may not even be willing to do housework. Some women are even unwilling to have children. Marriage is merely a transition from parental pampering to another man's care, with no growth or change involved. Such pampered women often show little change, even after marriage. Additionally, the influence of feminist thought is also worth noting. We can learn from Japan and South Korea, which experienced extreme feminist phenomena that led men to choose singlehood over marriage. After men chose to lie flat, women also no longer demanded material conditions like cars and houses. Their requirements gradually decreased, but men's attitudes remained indifferent. If the current generation of young men and women in China continues to choose not to marry, the future of China may resemble that of today's Japan and South Korea, with significant changes in the marriage and relationship landscape. However, is such an approach too extreme? Let's discuss this in the comment section, shall we? I'm eager to hear your thoughts. If you like this video, please like and subscribe to our channel. Your support is very important to us, and we will continue to provide you with better programs. Thank you again for watching, and see you next time.